I spoke to the independent member for McKellar, Sophie Scamps, a short time ago. I started by asking her if she's pleased. Does she welcome the fact the Coalition has said it won't abandon the Paris Climate Agreement?
Yes, we absolutely need to stay committed to the Paris Agreement. Our integrity would be out the window if we were to renege on that. But there's a real difference between, I think, what the coalition is committing to, which is net zero by 2050, and what we need to do this decade. We absolutely know that the crucial time for action is in this decade, before 2030. So we need to put our foot on the accelerator and be acting right now to reduce our emissions now, not after 2040, not near 2050. That is way too late for both saving our climate and also for Australia. We will have missed the opportunity to become a renewable energy superpower. If we want to become a superpower, the time is now. We need to put the investment in now. We need long-term certainty.
The Coalition argues there's no point having a target if it's not going to be met. They say the government's current trajectory won't meet its 43% target, so they're just being transparent about it. What do you say to that?
Look, I think it's fairly ridiculous, to tell you the truth. They're saying that the government will only reach 42% when the target is 43%. To me, that's pretty close. But also what the coalition is missing out on is all the recent announcements that were in the last budget and the new legislation that's come through as well, which has not yet been factored in. So I think it's too early to say they're not going to reach their target. We've seen the vehicle efficiency standards being passed through the Parliament. That's been worked on for a lot of time, and I think many Australians welcome that. And we also see in the budget there were huge announcements for investments into green metal, green hydrogen, green metals, investment into those sectors. So we have a long way to go. But yes, there's these new announcements that will get us there, I believe.
I know it was a long weekend, but I wonder, did you pick up any feedback from your constituents on the northern beaches of Sydney?
Well, it was a long weekend, but I was out and about, and I think the feedback is what we want here in this electorate and across Australia is certainty. We want bipartisanship. We don't want the climate wars to reignite. We want vision. The world is absolutely in an era of change right now. We need to come together constructively to be able to face that. And I think what the coalition is doing, what Dutton is doing, is irresponsible and destructive. We've even had the large energy companies coming out saying we need long-term certainty. Business needs certainty. They need to be able to make those investment decisions. And this flip-flopping, this backward-looking, this backstepping is not the way to go for our economy or the future of Australia.
Some have said that the coalition has given up on the teal seats given this approach. Is that your sense of things?
It is 100% my sense of things. I think they've given up on these inner city seats. We know that from listening to people felt very strongly that we needed good action on climate change. We need strong action on climate change and strong leadership. This is a backward step. This is a wedge to try and win, I think, the outer urban and other seats. But I think they have abandoned these inner city seats.
When you mentioned over the weekend that this is a distract and delay policy, can you elaborate on that? Do you mean further to that, the coalition's nuclear approach fits into that message as well, that this is about not delivering an energy policy, but it's simply to delay? Is that your view?
Look, it is my view, because we know when you look at nuclear energy, I'm not opposed to nuclear energy in and of itself. I'm not ideologically opposed to it, but we know that it's going to take 15 years or more before we would get a large power plant. That if that was the decision that was made now and it was able to be implemented, it takes sort of 15 years to build one. We also know that small modular nuclear reactors, there's no commercially available small modular nuclear reactors in the Western world. There's 2 pilot studies only in the world, in Russia and China, so it's not commercially viable. So if we're talking about nuclear, we're talking about closer to 2040. So in the meantime, we would have to continue to rely on our coal powered generation. And we know our coal power stations are aging and falling apart. And it's predicted that by 2030, 90% of our coal-fired power stations will be decommissioned. And currently they supply 50% of our energy. So it would mean an increase in cost for taxpayers, because we would need to subsidise these coal-fired power stations to stay active, and that costs a lot of money. We've seen with Eraring in New South Wales, it's going to cost $250 million a year for the New South Wales government to keep that open. The other thing I would say is that nuclear, we know, is far more expensive. We saw the Gen Cost report come out from the CSIRO, and we know that renewable energy, solar, wind, with battery storage and factoring in transmission, is far cheaper than nuclear. Nuclear would be 4 times more expensive. So when the coalition talks about cutting energy prices, by talking nuclear, they're doing the opposite. By talking about doing reliability for the grid, again, it'll make us reliant on these old, ageing coal-fired power stations, which again will not enhance the reliability of our grid.
Member for Mackellar, Independent MP Sophie Scamps, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thanks so much.